Sparks danced into the night sky, carried up by currents of air I couldn't feel. The fire blazed hot, licking the edges of my mattress, the coals at the bottom glowing bright red. I'd stacked wood around the base to keep it going even once the mattress itself burned out, made for a nice big bonfire. I sat back in my chair, one foot crossed over my knee, bottle of beer in my hand. I had a feeling my solitude wouldn't last. One of the boys was bound to catch a whiff of the fire or see the sparks rise, their orange and red lights winking in the darkness. I'd brought a six-pack expecting company. Then again, any or all of them might be otherwise occupied tonight. It wasn't like there was a horde of bachelors roaming Salishan's acres these days. One by one, all my kids had found love and settled down. Of course, technically they weren't my kids. I hadn't fathered them, and I'd never spoken of them that way out loud. But I'd stopped beating myself up for thinking of them as mine years ago. I wasn't their father, but they were mine just the same. I'd been a part of their lives, watching out for them since they were little. Since that day so many years ago when I chased a naked 2-year-old Cooper through the vineyard and brought him back to his mother, Shannon. Her name drifted through my mind like a cool breeze. Soothing, beautiful Shannon Miles, the woman I'd loved from afar for longer than was strictly healthy. She'd been through hell the last couple of years. As happy as I'd been to see her husband go, I'd hated the pain it had brought her. He'd been unfaithful off and on throughout most of their marriage. I hadn't known. Oh, I'd suspected strongly, but I'd told myself over and over that it was none of my business. I had no place getting in between a married man and woman. That was one of my life's biggest regrets. If I'd trusted my gut and exposed Lawrence years ago, maybe I could have saved her and those kids a hell of a lot of pain. But then again, it was hard to say how that would have turned out. Maybe she wouldn't have believed me. Maybe she wouldn't have been ready to hear the truth. Maybe the crushing responsibility of being a single mother to 4 young kids while trying to keep her family's winery afloat would have made her even more miserable than her husband had. I doubted it, but it gave me some comfort to think I hadn't ruined her life by keeping out of it. Shannon had been the name my heart had whispered for a long time. I hadn't always loved her. The first time we spoke that day on the edge of the vineyard when Cooper had run off hadn't been the moment I'd fallen for her. I noticed her, and maybe deep down a part of me had known I'd love her one day. But back then she was a married young mother, as unavailable as a person could get. No, I fell for her kids first. They were the reason I'd stayed. Back in those days, I'd been little more than a drifter. No permanent home, no ties to anything. I'd wanted it that way, thinking I could outrun the pain of my past. The Miles kids had given me reason to plant roots. I'd stayed there for them, and I'd never regretted it. However, watching Shannon live a life with another man, especially a piece of shit like Lawrence Miles, had been a special kind of torture. But now Lawrence was gone. It had been a long, hard road for Shannon. His selfishness had come back to haunt not only her, but her entire family. Fortunately, justice had prevailed and their ordeal was over. And today, I decided it was time. I heard the boys, Cooper and Chase if I wasn't mistaken, coming down the path to the clearing, probably giving each other shit by their tones and the laughter that followed. Chase was one of mine in much the same way the Miles kids had always been. He and Cooper had been best friends since they were 5. In our own ways, separately of course, Shannon and I had adopted Chase as one of ours. Now that he was married to Bryn, he was a Miles in everything but name, although really he always had been. "Ben, dude, what's going on here?" Cooper asked, dragging a chair over. He didn't sit down. "Having a party without us? What's up with that? I know we've been busy or whatever, but still, have some manners, man. Give a guy a heads up." "Coop." Chase tried to get Cooper's attention. "I guess the beer makes up for it, though. Beer me, good buddy." I opened a beer and handed it to Cooper. Chase looked at the fire, then at me, then back at the fire.